Welcome to episode number 143 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We're recording live on YouTube on May 15, 2016. This week's topics, Amazon versus YouTube, Facebook's trending controversy, the racist McShootFace troll, Drink America, Please, Text and Die, Google VR headsets, Donald Trump's publicist, and the International Association of Business Interns. Lots more. We always start off with the worst story of the week, and BL always has the honor. So BL, kick it off. What was the worst story?
Well, there was a lot going on in bad news and bad campaigns this week. But Budweiser changing its name to America, which I first saw in an Ad Age story by E.J. Schultz. They're calling it a patriotic play, and they're renaming the beer America temporarily until the election. So the packaging starts May 23rd, and it runs through the election. And the design is handled by Jones Knowles Ritchie in New York, and the packaging is going to be accompanied by a multimedia summer-long campaign called America is in Your Hands. A national TV spot featuring the cans and bottles is going to premiere on June 1st. I'm sorry, but beer is not America.
Well, I don't know. Benjamin Franklin's famous quote was, beer is proof that God wants us happy. So there's that. I don't know. I think they kind of missed the mark. I think by including the A in America, they kind of missed the mark of their target audience. I think they should have named it Murica. And they probably more directly go after those Trump voters with that.
Yeah, I guess so. So I have a whole bunch of bad news. Why don't you give us one of yours?
Yeah, so we had maybe the most famous troll the internet has seen so far, called racist McShootFace. This came about because a person called himself racist McShootFace in order to troll George Zimmerman, who, that subhuman piece of crap, was trying to auction off the gun he used to murder Trayvon Martin. So some guy took it upon himself to troll his every auction in which he tried to sell the gun and place false bids to screw with his auction, and that person named themselves racist McShootFace. So just when you've about lost your faith in humanity, racist McShootFace comes along and helps restore it.
So I wonder, was that a trending topic on Facebook this week?
Yeah, and it was a Twitter moment, so it was trending all over the place.
Well, Facebook's in the midst of a trending topics mess, and I have mixed feelings about it. But the stories that I'm going to talk about are from TechCrunch and The Week, and the reporters are Kate Conger and Jeff Sprouse. And the upshot is that the Senate Commerce Committee sent a letter to Mark Zuckerman asking him to answer questions about Facebook's trending topics feature. And if you don't know, the trending topics have headlines and story summaries in a sidebar that's next to the main news feed. And somebody who worked on trending topics at Facebook alleged that conservative news topics and outlets are blocked from appearing. And that story appeared in Gizmodo. And so that fueled speculation that Facebook suppresses conservative media. And so the letter from the Senate Commerce Committee asked Zuckerberg to make staffers available to answer questions about how the feature works. And from The Week, and this is what Jeff Sprouse said, and I tend to think he's got a point, it's hard to understate what a powerful perch this trending section is. Facebook has 1.65 billion active monthly users. Many American publishing giants get more than half of their traffic from Facebook. And if Facebook curators put their thumb on the scale, it can have an enormous effect on publishers and readers. The big thing here, in my opinion, is that an awful lot of people say, and I think you had a stats thing not too long ago, that they get their news mainly from Facebook. And the younger they are, the more likely that is. And frankly, Facebook's not a news organization. Facebook can do whatever it wants. It's a private company, and the Senate should keep its nose out of private companies, in my opinion. And I think the whole thing could be just dissipated if they just said top picks. You know, they don't have to say they're trending. Just say what it is. Say these are our editor's picks. That's what everybody else calls them. Why do you have to say that they're what they're not? And that would be the end of that. Every news organization is biased. Problem here is Facebook's not a news organization. It's masquerading as one.
Well, there you go. I mean, they are a news organization.
In a way.
They're courting news organizations to publish their content on their platform. They've got the news feed. They've got the trending topics, and of course, it's algorithmically driven, but it's also you also have editors making choices about what appears in the trending topics as well. I think what this does is it highlights that feature of Facebook for people to really think about what it actually is. And yeah, a lot of people get their news from Facebook. Maybe they should think about getting their news from other sources as well and not rely solely on one source for your news. News organizations are going to have their own biases because they're made up of human beings and owners who may have their own political biases and all that. And I mean, there's a legitimate role for Facebook to have their own editors because you can't rely solely on algorithms to promote something like the news feed, because people are going to game the algorithms. Remember what Google bombs, where people were gaming Google search results for political purposes. Same thing will happen here. And you don't want trending topics that are offensive. They're going to be offensive to most of your readers. That'll happen. So.
Yeah, but you see, the reason I don't get my news on Facebook is that I went to journalism school, and I don't spread stuff unless I have vetted its sources in 3 different ways. So you see so much crap on Facebook in your feed, as you go by, because people don't go and check the sources, and they just take it's crap that people from places that are really not news sources and that are basically pretending to be news sources, conservative and liberal. I mean, there's an awful lot of that out there, and so to me, it's a dangerous thing to take your news from one source, as you're saying. But there's a major problem online, and that is that people believe what they see, and you can't do that. You just can't.
Well, it's kind of always been the case, but
right. But this is making it amplified. Exactly.
I pay attention to the news feed because I want to know what other people are seeing. So I do pay attention to that. And there's a lot of stuff that isn't news related, that trends that I find interesting. So it's just get a variety of sources for
exactly.
your news.
Speaking of masquerading, Donald Trump has apparently been masquerading as his own publicist. He's done that in the past. It wouldn't surprise me if he's still doing it. And he was masquerading as a publicist named John Miller to promote Donald Trump. And the Washington Post, which of course is owned by Jeff Bezos, got their hands on an audio from a 1991 interview that John Miller did with Sue Carswell of People magazine. And John Miller was supposed to be Trump's publicist, and if you listen, which I did, it's Trump, and he's pretending to be someone else. And you can tell because he really has an unmistakable accent. He uses overly adjective-laden speech. He uses very simplistic language. And of course, he's denying it now. But in 1990, he admitted in a court hearing under oath that, in fact, he did use a fake name, saying, I believe on occasion I use that name. And he also admitted to using the name John Barron early in his career when he was calling reporters, but not now, no recollection. So he committed perjury, or is he lying now, or is he lying all the time? My guess is he lies all the time. Option C. But the other thing that happened about Trump this week, which really goes under the best in my opinion, is there was a wonderful anonymously photoshopped image of Trump with no hair and no orange makeup, and he looks just like the man behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. When the curtain parted and it was just this little old guy.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Yeah, well, it's an apt analogy, because a lot of people are not paying attention to the man behind the curtain in his manipulation of the press, and this whole publicist thing from 1991 plays right into that. He was actually doing that long before 1991 too. There was a post I read on.
That's just when they caught him.
Yeah, right. post I read on Pro Football Talk, where he was doing that when he was the owner of the New Jersey Generals of the USFL, United States Football League. In 1985, he was doing that with football reporters, and it was a kind of an open secret that everybody knew it was Trump that it was calling. So, and thought it was
feeling
weird.
There's a lot of people who do that, who pretend to be their publicist, you know. I mean, I worked for, one of my first jobs was I worked for this ad agency that was like, there were 6 of us, and the guy had a recording that would play, making it sound like we were in this really busy office with people running around, you know, when people would call. I mean, I think a lot of people pretend to be something they're not. Especially
Better Call Saul has his own answering.
Yeah, they love Better Call Saul. I can't wait for him to come back. So does that bring us to better news?
It does indeed.
Well, I think this is good news. Amazon's taking on YouTube. They've launched Amazon Video Direct. I think the story broke in TechCrunch with Sarah Perez. And basically, they're going to let you upload your own videos to Amazon's Prime Video and generate royalties based on the number of hours that it's streamed. And there are a bunch of different options to monetize videos, including making them available to rent or own. And they can be free or they can be ad supported. They can be packaged together and offered as an add-on subscription to Amazon Prime Video. They are intended really for larger scale video providers, but Amazon will distribute a share of $1 million per month as a bonus to the top 100 titles that are distributed through Amazon Video Direct. And it's going to be based on global customer engagement. It's incremental revenue earned from hours streamed, rentals, purchases, and on top of whatever else you earn. And, you know, given the fact that Amazon Prime reaches tens of millions of Prime members, the customers are already engaged there. It's kind of like a Netflix service to watch Amazon Prime videos. There's an opportunity here to make some money and reach a humongous global audience. And they say that creators will have control over where their videos are streamed rather. Right now it's US, Germany, Austria, UK, and Japan. And they can be played back anywhere Amazon Video works, and mobile phones, tablets, Fire, iOS, Android, desktop, game consoles. Of course, you can't use Chrome to do it because it's Amazon, but creators will have access to metrics, but they're pretty sparse at the moment. And right now you can track the number of minutes a title was streamed, its payment history, projected revenue, and number of subscribers. And it's a star rating, you know, the way that reviews are done on Amazon. And Scott Scowcroft has launched a Google Plus group to give the details to people who want to try it, and it's a free group to join. We can put a link in the show notes, and because it's kind of complex and you have to, you know, make sure that you have the technical aspects of it correct, but it's an opportunity and it's cool.
What have I been saying about Amazon for I don't know how many months now?
What?
They're the 800-pound gorilla in the podcasting room. That it's a no-brainer for them to open up their platform to podcasters, and I think this is the first opportunity for that. Of course, it'd have to be video podcasters, but now you can get in, as you said, you can get into the Amazon ecosphere and get access to, have your content get access to those audiences on their Fire tablets, on their Fire TVs. I've got my Fire TV set-top box on this TV right here. I've got a Fire Stick in another TV. I've got the Fire TV app on my Xbox One. There's all kinds of places where you can now distribute content. I think it's a huge opening, and I think audio podcasts should follow shortly, I'd imagine.
It should, but you know, not a lot has happened yet. In any case, with the Amazon Google Play podcasts, they have yet to start to provide any really detailed metrics, and there's no real promotion. And I wonder if it's another one of those things that Google's going to half-heartedly do. It remains to be seen.
It does. So, speaking of Amazon, Amazon has some more news, not as big as that, but they have released Amazon Dash buttons that are now programmable. So, this is from a Next Web article by Nat Garon, and each button costs $20. You can program it to do whatever you want. So, it's a programmable Wi-Fi button, just like the Amazon Dash buttons are for ordering Tide or whatever it is. These are buttons that are Wi-Fi enabled, and they're designed to help developers learn how to use Amazon Web Services, Internet of Things, and hook up with several Amazon Web Services they're under limited release right now. You have to sign up to get on the list, but that's pretty cool. I mean, the Internet of Things is a growing and expanding industry, and this should only help to expand it even more.
What can you program them to do?
Whatever.
No, I mean, why would anybody want it? What would they get it for?
You can program it to have it open up your garage door. You could have it program it to.
Oh, it's for you personally.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not something that a company would program and then sell.
They could do that too. Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, well, they are an 800-pound gorilla. On a much softer note, the Dalai Lama has launched an interactive atlas of emotions. It's a fascinating thing. I saw this story on PSFK by Lauren Garvey, and it's an interactive website, and it's done with psychologist Paul Ekman, and it's a tool that helps you understand the origin of your feelings and the things that trigger them. And the idea is for you to understand your emotions and create a map of your mind and be able to sit with your emotions and understand where they come from, how they're experienced, how they affect our actions, and how to overcome the triggers. So the core emotions, which are universal: anger, disgust, fear, sadness, and enjoyment. And you'll see in the website what things might trigger them, and you can really relate to the things that they've said. It's a very, very interesting and wonderful website.
Huh. I will check that out. I have no transition at all to that, but, so there's no transition. Voice data is something that we search engine optimizers have not been able to get at, but increasingly people are using voice-activated devices to search for things, and so Google is looking at ways to include voice-related searches, voice-activated searches in their Google search, in their search console. Now, this is from a Search Engine Land story by Barry Schwartz. So Google Webmaster Trends Analysis John Mueller said on Friday in a Google Hangout that Google's looking for ways to show webmasters in the Google Search Console, where you can get at the keywords that people are using to find your website, and the volume of impressions that your site is showing up for in Google search results for a given search phrase, as well as click-through rates for that. But they're looking to show webmasters how voice-activated searches are showing up in their, how people are finding pages through those. Google wants to provide a way to segment those voice searches from in your analytics report. So right now you can segment mobile versus desktop searches through Google Search Console. If they add the voice-activated searches, then you could segment just voice-activated searches and understand how people are using, how the phrases that they're using to find content through voice-activated search is different from typing it out in your browser, and it certainly would be. I think people would use more natural language using voice-activated search. They'd use longer search queries because it's easier to do. But this is data we've never been able to get at before, so I'm eager to see it. It's not live yet, but Google is working on it, so hopefully it'll be coming soon.
I hope they've factored in the auto typing mistakes that Siri and other voice activated content results in. Another thing that Google is rumored to be doing, and next week is their conference where they'll be talking about what they are actually doing. But on Android Police, David Ruddock had a story that said that Peter Rojas, who's the man who co-founded Gizmodo and Engadget, he said that Google will be unveiling a new platform known as Android VR with a standalone VR virtual reality headset. And several sessions at the conference, which has already been, which are already online. The titles include VR and words like Mirage, and so it does seem as though this is quite likely to happen. And you know, the virtual reality field. I was telling you before the show that I went to a Digiday virtual reality conference this week, and everybody agreed that we're at the very, very early days of virtual reality, and that until the huge headsets are gone and a lot more has changed and the expense of it is lowered, and much more has to happen. But, you know, clearly this is the future, and it would make sense for Google to join the party.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't wait for that. I've been waiting for it since the 1990s, so I can't wait for VR to really take off.
Well, 360, but an interesting thing. I mean, this week the New Yorker cover was an augmented reality cover, and you had to download an app called Uncover, which was kind of hard to find, I have to say, because it's really hard to find things in the Apple Store. But anyway, once you find that, then you see the things that are hidden in the cover. So I asked several people I know who get the New Yorker, you know, did you download the app? Did you look at the cover? And every single one of them said no. And, you know, we care about technology. We care about this stuff. Not everybody does. And so there's a long learning curve and a steep climb before this stuff goes more mainstream than us geeky types.
Yeah, and it's got to be easy for people to use.
Yeah.
Most of all, it's got to be easy for people to use.
You shouldn't have to do so. I don't have a big transition to this one. I should have done it after Trump's masquerade, but a site has come up called Maple Match. It's a Canadian dating service for where you can find Canadian husbands and wives who'll be willing to marry you in time for you to move to Canada in the event of a Trump presidency. And they have a waiting list. I signed up, but there's a waiting list of thousands of people who want to see about having an out. Because in order to go to Canada, you either have to be married or have a job or a sponsor. I mean, you can't just say, okay, he won, I'm going. So I figured I might as well, better safe than sorry, might as well see what's going on there. And lo and behold, there's a huge waiting list. So if anybody's listening who wants to marry me in Canada, please do get in touch.
Well, I'm done with my good stuff. You get any more?
Okay, well, I have one that you thought was awful, which you forgot, by the way. I thought that the PSA about texting and driving, which was done by a fake funeral parlor called wathanfuneral.com, they put up a billboard that said text and drive. And then it was sponsored by this imaginary funeral home, and you had that in the worst. Tell me why, because I thought it was pretty clever. When you got to the website, they told you what was so bad about drinking and about texting and driving.
Yeah, I had it in the worst because people would have reacted to it as, oh my God, this is horrible. There's a funeral home putting up billboards encouraging people to text and drive so they'll die to drum up business. But I thought it was very clever. I actually thought it was a good idea. So
I thought it was a good idea too.
Great PSA campaign, yep.
It was. So does this bring us to shiny stuff?
It does indeed. I've got a new browser for people that are developers, website developers, or people involved in just any technical aspects of the web. It's called BLISK. BLISK, web browser for developers. It includes an emulator that displays a given page in a variety of different devices. So you can see what a page looks like in different versions of the iPhone, from iPhone 4 to 6 Plus, to Galaxy, the Samsung Galaxy, to an iPad or a desktop. It's got tons of developer tools built in. So web developers know that in addition to the view source option in your browser, you also have a developer console where you can get at a bunch of different technical things about a given web page. So if you are a developer out there, take a look at that. I played around with it. It looks pretty impressive.
That's very interesting. Well, I found one. You know how many times you've tried to find the email address for somebody at a company that you want to be in touch with, and so this is a website called findthat.email, and you can pretty much, I tested it, you can pretty much find the corporate emails of just about anybody, and essentially what it's doing is it's letting you know whether it's, you know, david.erickson at whatever, or, you know, BL_Achman at whatever. I mean, there are just so many ways that companies can format their emails. Some use first and last names, some use only first names, some use, you know, and this has figured that out for an awful lot of companies. I don't exactly know how it works, but it's interesting. It worked when I tried it.
Sounds like it's going through their understanding the protocol that the company is using for their email addressing protocol, and then giving you a best estimate or best educated guess about what somebody's email address may be. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, that's something I've done on my own a lot of times, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, you know.
So I got a recent, couple of weeks, well, 1 week ago, I got I replaced my desktop computer with an Asus Flipbook. And so my other cool thing is my Asus Flipbook. So it's a 15-inch laptop, basically computer. It's got a full 15-inch screen. It's got a full keyboard. It's a laptop, and it's a serious you know, Windows computer. But it also has a touch screen, which is just freaking awesome. It's amazing. So right now I'm using it to flip through the notes on our podcast, and I just have to use the touch screen to scroll through stuff rather than using a mouse. I'll show you it on the screen here. It's a little big for seeing it, but there's the screen, and I can flip it back and actually turn it and flip the screen all the way back and turn it into a tablet. And so it doubles as a rather big tablet. But great new computer that I got. I highly recommend it. I like Asus a lot. First Asus that I've had. So,
how much was it?
It was $700.
That's a really very decent price.
Yeah.
So Google has a new keyboard. It's called the GBoard, and it's for iOS, and it has GIFs and emojis and glide typing. But the coolest thing about it is Google Search is built in, and the results are displayed in cards, and they can be copied into messages, and it works with news items also. And it's currently limited in the US, but you know, many times, like you're typing something and you want to have a link, and you have to go out and you have to, you know, go to your browser and get the link. Here it's just built right in. You go and you get whatever, you just copy and paste. It's very cool.
I've been meaning to download it. Haven't tried it out. I'll have to do that this week.
It's really an excellent thing. I also came across Revue, which is a super easy free way to create and send out newsletters. And you can bring your MailChimp list or other files in, and you can start it with drag and drop in minutes. And it's about 1,000 times simpler than MailChimp is to use. And it's kind of like Tumblr for newsletters. And you can you know, post your newsletters on their site as well, which is what makes it a lot like Tumblr. So pretty cool.
All right. Cool. Some daily numbers?
Sure.
Time for the daily numbers. Frequency of use of voice-activated digital assistants. So this is the frequency with which U.S. mobile phone owners use voice-controlled personal assistants on their device, like Siri or Cortana or Alexa, though you don't have that on your phone. So 33% say they don't have that option, voice-activated digital assistant. 17% have the option but haven't tried using it. 13% have tried once or twice. 10% use it monthly. 14% use it weekly, and 13% use it daily. So not widespread yet, but I think that's, I mean, the easier it gets to use those voice activated features, the more frequently people are going to do it, and the more they cut down on your favorite thing, autocorrection errors, the more people are going to use it.
Yeah,
but I use it all the time.
I use it all the time too. I use it, you know, anytime I'm answering email, that's how I do it on my phone. And I definitely do. You know, I don't use my hands, and I couldn't after I broke my shoulder. I couldn't. You know, I couldn't hold the phone and do anything. So it was all voice, and you know, I got better at it. I'll say that about it. Because there is kind of a learning curve, you know.
Yep.
Doing it right. So that brings us to the end of episode 143 of Beyond Social Media Show. And oh, well, I have one more quick one, and that's that I thought it was pretty cool that McDonald's has virtual reality games for the Angry Birds movie, enabling you can scan in codes on their products and get an augmented reality game that comes onto your mobile devices. So you look for that in your McDonald's outlets. But anyway, you will find David Erickson on Twitter. He's at D Erickson. He blogs at eStrategyBlog.com and CreativePR.com/blog, both of which you really should check out and subscribe to. On Twitter, I'm at What's Next. My blog is What's Next Blog. I write for Ad Age Digital Next and pawfun.com, where I blog. The show is BeyondSocialMediaShow.com on the web, and that's where we put all of the show notes with links to everything we discuss, the original stories. And you will find that with the video of every episode we've done so far. And we're on Twitter. We are at BS Media Show. Our newsletter is BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/newsletter. And it's got content that we don't have time to cover here, plus some cool things that we wanted to share with you. So sign up and don't miss a show. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are on iTunes. We are on Google Music. Google Music Play, and we're on Stitcher. We're all over the place, and we'll be back next week, same time, same station. And thank you for watching tonight.
Thanks for watching.